If you can hear me, clap once. If you can hear me, clap twice. If you can hear me, clap 6 times.
I don't hear you clapping at all.
Some people obviously can't hear me well. Okay, the topic tonight is baptism. Bear with me. It seems, from my perspective anyway, to be a very difficult subject to communicate, this subject of baptism. So, I want to tell you a true story that has nothing to do with the study tonight whatsoever. But anyway, it's true, so that has some merit, right? I'm getting a lot of feedback from the mic.
Lower the mic down.
Lower the mic.
Yeah,
Let's try
lower it
that.
down. So it's not right under your boat scores.
Keep talking, Craig. I got it.
Mic is lower, it's going to that help.
A little bit.
Hello. All right, here we go. So, no, that did not help.
Lean
Dennis,
back.
hook me up, brother. Or
You
just
have
cut
to
me.
hold your right arm
Just
up.
cut me off.
Stick your left leg out.
Does
No,
it work
left leg out.
Not good directions either. Is
Antennas, right?
that better? Anybody?
Actually, I have 2 right legs. You see,
Okay.
my toes.
This is a story, a completely unrelated story. Here's the story. It's absolutely true, even though it won't sound like it. I have a good friend right at, this should kill me, right at 9/11. The World Trade Centers get bombed, and he gets incredibly this desire to go serve our nation. So he goes and he joins the Navy. And he's going to be a Navy SEAL. But my good friend does not like to swim. So Navy SEAL training turns out to be a really big problem because basically all they do is spend all day in the water. So they tell him, this is probably not for you. So they stick him on a boat, which they call, a ship. You can't say boat in the Navy. And the ship that he's on is the USS aircraft carrier called the Kennedy. So something you should know about the Kennedy is that when you first leave, they go out to sea for months and months and months. And they don't land, and they don't anything, and they all live on this boat, and we're talking like, 6, 7, 8,000 people on one boat at one time. So when they first leave, the food is pretty good, right? Because it's fresh. They just came offshore and they got some fresh food, but later on, the food is not so good. Because it's not so fresh, it's been frozen for a long time. So they adapt and they start doing really weird things that even years later after they get out of the Navy, they're still doing, which are a little awkward. So one thing that my friend does, which is awkward, is he puts peanut butter on his pancakes. Because the pancakes tasted so terrible in the Navy that they had to do something to fix it. And they didn't have syrup, so they put pancakes on the peanut butter on the pancake. So you would think that my buddy would just maybe roll up a pancake and just kind of baptize it in the peanut butter and eat it. But that's not what he did at all. He would take that junk and he would just baptize it all over the pancake everywhere, and that's what he did to eat it because it tasted so terrible. But there's other weird things about being in the Navy that weren't so good. Like, for instance, when they showered, they would all shower together at one time, right? So you got 5, not so much, 10, maybe 50 naked guys all in a room at one time. And they would go in there and they would just, baptize themselves and everything right in the middle of everybody just naked shower. So what my buddy did, not that he was uncomfortable with himself or anything, but he would wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and sneak in there and just, baptize himself while nobody else was around. It's a true story. The craziest thing that he told me about going to war and being on the ship is that this aircraft carrier is going along in the middle of the night. My buddy's asleep. It's 3 a.m. in the morning. Bam! They hit a fishing boat.
I thought you were nice.
True story. USS Kennedy in the middle of the ocean somewhere over, toward the war, hits a fishing boat.
So they did the Titanic.
And it's 3 in the morning, everybody runs up on deck, and everybody's looking around, and the entire ship just baptized right there in the middle of the ocean. And we assume people died, we don't really know, it was a horrible thing, the captain gets reprimanded, it's a big, terrible, awful event. But the boat that they hit literally just baptized. So the point of my story is you might have noticed I used a word that was a little weird to you, right? I used the word baptize instead of dipping like you dip the pancakes, or even drowning like you drowned in the peanut butter and pancakes, or washing like you went in the shower and washed, or even sank like the boat sank. The point of the story is that if you were a man in the first century, Greek, and I used the word baptize in all those sentences, it would have not even struck you as odd or different or weird. Because at that time, baptism, baptize, the root word, baptizo, could mean dunk or dip or wash or even sink. And when people translated the Bible originally, there's one verse, and you don't have to turn there, but it's Luke 11:38, and it says, but the Pharisees noticed that Jesus did not first wash before the meal, and they were surprised. See, that root word, if you're reading it in the original text, is the same word that you see everywhere else in Scripture as baptized. And best I can tell, it's the only place in the entire Bible that baptize was translated into wash. Because for them, it was the same word. But when the scribes translated it into English, they said, look, everywhere else in the Bible, this word baptize is something different. We should come up with another word. So what they did is they basically took the Greek and made it an English word. So that they had a word to mean something different, to mean what you commonly associate with baptize.
That was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. So everybody pretend with me just for a second. You don't have to close your eyes with your help. If you want to, you're welcome to. Pretend that you are a man. Now, girls, it's going to be a little harder, but you got to do it. In the first century, pretend that your mom was Greek and your dad was Roman. And you're middle age and your occupation is a merchant. You sell goods as a merchant. And most of your clients, most of the people you do business with on the daily basis are Jews. And so you, as a good merchant, you start to spend time with your clients. You're studying your clients because you want to get more and more sales. Your job's a merchant. You're passionate about it. So you start to hang out with some Jews, and you become friends with some Jews, and you start to notice some things about the Jews. You notice they're a very, oppressed people. You notice they're tremendously overly taxed, which is tough for you because you're trying to sell them stuff. And you notice that they have this tenacious faith for this one God that they call Yahweh. And you're starting to buy into it because your culture as a Greek, you've been told about Hercules and Zeus and all these, gods. And you're starting to hear for the first time about this one true God. So you ask your friend, you say, friend, what if I wanted to become a Jew? Could we swing that? And your friend's like, I don't really know. We'll have to go to one of these religious people because I'm just kind of one of these guys, your buddy. I can tell you, but let's go ask the right person. So you go and you find this religious leader, and he says, yeah, you can become a Jew, even though you're not. But you got to do 5 things. He tells you the first thing, and you're like, ooh. Because the first thing is you have to be circumcised. If you don't know what that is, you need to ask Dennis sometime. It's rated R, and I can't explain it to you. In a second. So the first thing is going to tell you that's why you have to be a man in the story. The second thing is that you have to obey the law of Moses. And you've heard about this law thing, and this, you're into that. You can do that. That's not that big of a deal. The third thing is you need to have this big, crazy, crunked out ceremony, right? So the first thing you're going to ask Dennis about that later. The second thing is the law of Moses. The third thing is this ceremony. The fourth thing is you have to make a big sacrifice, a ritualistic sacrifice. And the fifth thing is you have to, at this big party you're having, you have to go in front of everybody, and you have to wash yourself of your past. The word they use is baptize. So you, in front of everybody, you kind of wash yourself ritualistically just to say, this was my old self, this is my new, and that's how you become a Jew. And you say, as a man in the first century, wow, I can handle a couple of those things, but at least one of those things I'm a little freaked out about. So let me go home and let me think about it. So you're walking home, and you're crossing the River Jordan, and you hear this crazy crowd and commotion. And you look down, there's this hairy guy, and he looks like he's all rough out of the wilderness. And, some people told you he kind of smelled like honey, and he is yelling at the top of his lungs. He's screaming, you better get your mind right. You better get your act together. Just